Well, hey guys, good evening. It is John C. Morley here, serial entrepreneur. Great to be with you on Inspirations for Your Life. Welcome, everyone. If this is your very first time coming, I'd like to take the opportunity to say thank you, and I'd like to say welcome. If you've been here one time or many times before, I'd like to say thank you, but I'd also like to say welcome back. Thank you so much for deciding to come back and join me. I always appreciate people that enjoy the quality of my content, want to share it, and make that part of their lives. All right, guys, if you have not checked out believemeachieve.com, what are you waiting for? Go check that out after the show is over, okay? And you can do that at believemeachieve.com. All right, guys. So lots of great stuff. Yes, lots of great stuff coming on. What I want to share with you right now is if you're thirsty, if you're hungry, or anything like that in between, feel free to go grab yourself some RO water. Like I have my RO water with fresh lemon in it, which is absolutely delicious. Get yourself a snack, fruit, what have you. Without any further ado, guys, let's kick this show off. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Inspirations for Your Life. And I want to say something very interesting that I think maybe a lot of you will find, let's say, in line. And that is when direction changes because truth gets revealed. And so this is series 5. This is show 18, and this is episode number 2. And once again, I want to say the words thank you, and I want to say the words welcome. Yes. So this episode of Inspirations for Your Life with myself, John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur, engineer, marketing specialist, video producer, podcast host, coach, keynote speaker, graduate student, passionate, lifelong learner, and a published author. Very grateful for that, ladies and gentlemen. As I explore how direction changes when truth is revealed through awareness, listening, and higher guidance rather than a force or a constant action. This is a deep look at how human direction is not primarily shaped by effort, but by our awareness, our interpretation, and the ability, ladies and gentlemen, to recognize signals that were always present, but previously somehow they got ignored. Yes, I know. Most people, ladies and gentlemen, believe change happens when they try harder. They burn out when they do that too, by the way. In reality, change happens when you see differently. When perception shifts, behavior starts to flow. All right. When behavior shifts, identity begins to reorganize itself. And when identity reorganizes, well, direction becomes apparent and permanent rather than a temporary way of life. In this particular episode, I'm going to break down how awareness builds, how truth reveals itself, and how internal clarity begins to override external noise. The core structure, ladies and gentlemen, of real change, here it comes. Number 1, guys, direction begins with listening. Awareness must come before reaction or a movement can settle in. I think that can startle some people, but don't let it startle you. Number 2, guys, silence carries clarity. Truth often exists in the absence of noise rather than within it. Now, guidance is rarely loud, okay? Insight is subtle, requiring attention, not intensity. And ladies and gentlemen, number 4, awareness requires a unique set of stillness. Motion without reflection reduces the understanding. I think if we could take a few moments every day to reflect and be grateful, our life can be a lot better. Number 5, internal signals matter most. External inputs often distort perception. And I think that happens because a lot of people out there, they want to be the loudest, but when you're the loudest, you're not really amplifying the truth, your core values. Number 6, guys, truth interprets distraction. Clarity breaks cycles of confusion. So when we get clear, we get more unconfused. Number 7, guys, clarity appears in reflection. It appears in reflection. Insight forms when you pause long enough to observe. Yeah. You just have to pause long. You don't have to pause forever, but you have to pause long enough so you can be able to appreciate and observe. And I think that's something that a lot of people today miss. They think that if they go quicker, that they're going to get the golden gem. But the truth of the matter is, if you go slower, and you observe things around you, miracles start to take place. One there, but they never could rear their head because you never gave them a chance. You never gave a chance. You never looked at the possibilities. You always looked at what couldn't be done. Number 8, guys, timing is everything. Understanding unfolds gradually, not instantly. And so if you think that you're just going to know something overnight, you're going to be very sadly disappointed. I think if we approach something, whether it's a subject, a concept, wherever it is, and we approach it with the idea that we can get better over time and that we don't need to learn everything overnight, I think it becomes not only more enjoyable, as you know, but I think it becomes easier. And also, the concepts tend to stick more because now it's not becoming a chore anymore. We're actually enjoying it. Number 9, guys, not all answers are immediate. I'm sorry, guys. They're not immediate. Patience is part of intelligence. Those that don't have patience will likely pay for it 3, 4, 5, or 10 times back because they've made mistakes. And we always said pay 9, but basically they've had to waste their resources. That could be money, people, things, etc. And so when we use our intelligence, we're able to move forward with purpose, with intentionalism. Number 10, guys, direction requires trust. Certainty is not required to move correctly. Resistance blocks insight. Resistance blocks insight. So ego and fear interfere with awareness. Yeah. Our ego and our fear. What's our fear? Our fear is false evidence appearing real. But too many people in our world think that if you get loud enough and you intimidate people, you can get power. You know, that might work for a little bit of time, but eventually it's going to backfire in your face. Number 12, guys, listening changes outcomes. Did you know that? Yes. Attention determines what you notice and act upon. If I asked you a question right now and I said, what do you remember most about today? I can tell you what I remember most about today. Studying for finals right now. I've been doing a lot of studying. And also, I was working on a tech support issue that was taking me some time and starting to understand the fact that a lot of these challenges that sometimes come to surface actually become a lot easier when we don't stress over them. When we know that we are just becoming aware of situations, things become easier. Number 13, guys, intuition strengthens decisions. Internal alignment improves judgment. Our internal alignment improves it, not the external, our internal. And I think when we can appreciate something internally, we can actually grow. All right. Not only can we learn, but we can grow. We can pass that knowledge on to other people. And then, ladies and gentlemen, we can learn from that so that we don't make that same mistake again. That's pretty good. And then we could take all those ideas and we can incorporate them to a big microcosm. And suddenly our world becomes so interconnected. Number 14, guys, patience. Yep. Patience reveals truth. Rushing compresses perception and hides the meaning. But I know a lot of people that want to rush. They want to get through everything. But they don't stop to look at the roses or smell them or even the beautiful animals or, nature outside. They just don't take the time. Let me ask you a question. If you went outside today, did you pay attention to the weather? Did you pay attention to maybe the pavement you were walking on, or the grass, or even notice the scenery, or even feel the wind at your backside, or the warmth if it was warm outside? Did you? If it didn't, it's no crime, but if you did, tell me how that made you feel. Did that get you to connect? Did that get you to feel more grounded? Chances are it probably did. And it took a piece out of your day and it made it so enjoyable. A lot of people, they don't stop for that moment. Not because they can't, but simply because they won't. They think that stopping for a moment is going to lose them productivity. But really, ladies and gentlemen, it's not going to lose productivity at all. It's actually just going to cause you to be more aware. And I think that's a big thing. Little warm tonight, guys. Yeah. But number 15, guidance challenges logic. Let me say that again. Guidance challenges logic. And so insight often appears outside of linear reasoning. Now, for somebody logical, they're like, that's preposterous. But it's exactly what happens in our world. We're looking at something linearly, right? But we don't look at the outside. A better way to say that is a lot of people look at the trees, the animals, the people in the forest, right? The lakes. But they don't look at the whole forest as a whole and how everything just sort of fits in place. I'll give you another example. Maybe you're moving somewhere, home, condo, apartment, mansion, what have you. And when you first get there, there's no furniture. But then when your furniture gets, it's like, it changes the room. It changes the environment. It makes you like, you know what, I belong here. Just by putting a few pieces of furniture. Absolutely, guys. By putting a few pieces of furniture, they connect the environment to you. They signify relaxation. They signify an orchestration and order. Number 16, guys. Noise hides direction. I had a situation with this today. Being an author now new and being a keynote speaker for a while and other stuff. I had somebody online. I'm not going to mention the name because that's out of school, but the person online actually was attacking me. And so what happened, just to set the record clear on this, for any of you that might have saw the post, she was basically accusing me for not doing business with her. So I had told her from the get-go, I shared my book and all that. And then right away, she's trying to hit me with prices about what she charges. And I said, I'm not looking to hire anybody at the moment. Okay? I'm not looking to do that. She immediately fired off. Well, I won't recommend anybody to you. And I obviously won't recommend anybody to read your book. And so I'm like, that's a little nasty. And then she comes with a little larger of a phrase to state things about me that are not true. I don't get upset. I don't get aggravated. I just block her. It's sad that people have to push buttons because they think that pushing buttons will threaten you to hiring them. That's the last thing I would ever do. And I think sometimes when people push these buttons and we have a reaction at the person, but you see, it's not the person we need to get mad at. It'd be ourselves. We need to realize that the only reason that person has control over you or whoever is because you're associating with them. As soon as I said to myself, okay, this is how she feels, great. I'm just going to disassociate with it and bam, block the person and be done. I did that. And as soon as I did that, she came back and said, well, look at this such and such person. And, he decided he was just going to block me. I guess I didn't block her fast enough because she started posting it. So I blocked her on all my channels. reported her to Facebook and some other social media. I think it's sad when people use a manipulation or a scare tactic to try to get you to spend money about a condition that's not true, like lying about who you are. So again, that's what I mean about noise hides the direction. The noise from her hid the true direction of where I'd go if I focused on that. But I knew I couldn't stay focused on that long. Constant input reduces clarity and focus. So if we get too much input, if we get too many people talking to us, what happens? What were we talking about? Who was I talking to? Right? You can only talk to one person at a time. And that's important, guys. Number 17, stillness improves clarity. Reduced motion increases perception, accuracy. Reduced motion increases perception accuracy. So that means that if we slow down and we become aware of things around us, you're going to hear me say that a lot, especially in my book, then we can have a different experience. You see, there's going to be people in our life that are going to try to, let's say, pull us down. Our job is not to get angry at them. Our job is to figure out who aligns with us in our life and keep them in our life if they do. And if they don't, then we just take them out of our life. It's not about being polite. It's about being with energy that's going to keep you going and not pulling you down. So somebody who does something like that and then saying they had 10,000 followers, which was really nonsense, that's a superficial person. Now, you guys have known me long enough that I'm not here to make names or anybody, and I don't call even that person. I don't even call that person names. That's not me. That's not my character. But there are going to be people out there that are going to be envious. They're going to be jealous of what I do. I get it. Okay. So they can have their fun. They can have their party. And I'm just going to block from them. And if they say something that's wrong, I'm going to make a statement and say, hey, just want to let you guys know. And that's all I want to say. I'm not going to get into any, mudslinging because that's not who I am. But I do want to defend myself and say that this is not who I am. This is not what was said here is not true. Number 18, guys, realignment requires humility. Yeah. Realignment requires humility. Correction begins when we decide to accept the misalignment. Realignment requires humility. And correction begins when we choose to accept the misalignment. A lot of people think, that they're not misaligned, that they're perfect. None of us are perfect. But if you believe that, then you're never going to be able to grow. You're going to be able to change. Number 19, guys, awareness shifts behavior. What you notice determines how you act. Okay? What you notice. And what you notice is directly correlated to the environment you're in. What you're hearing, what you're seeing, touching, tasting, smelling, and experiencing. That determines how you act. And so how you act will obviously come across to others. And although we can't impact others directly or tell somebody to change something, when we act differently, they will act differently. Okay? When you show up for who you are, other people will respect you more. Number 20, guys, insight arrives unexpectedly. Clarity is not always predictable or scheduled, guys, but we have to be aware of these situations and this feedback, this input that we get when it arrives. It might not be when we expect it. It might not be when we want it. But we need to pay attention to it. Number 21, guys, truth appears in patterns. Truth appears in patterns. So repetition reveals structure over time. When we repeat over time, we reveal the structure. Number 22, misalignment becomes obvious and imbalance is exposed through contrast. Number 23, correction improves the path. A correction, it could be a minor tweak. This adjustment creates forward movement. So correction improves the path, but the adjustment creates the forward movement that we need to keep going. Number 24, guys, understanding builds slowly. It's not going to come like a big, tidal wave all at once. It comes in dribs and drabs, maybe even drips and drops. Understanding builds slowly, and clarity compounds through repeated observation. So the more that we observe, if we start making a habit to observe, we'll start to become more aware of things around us. And by that awareness, we'll change how we act. We will change how we show up for ourselves and for others. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things I want to say here tonight is that we're not here to influence others in the sense of making them do something. But when we show up differently, when we respond differently, other people will show up differently too. And they will respond to us differently as well. Number 25, awareness opens opportunity. New possibilities will appear through the perception. Now, if you're saying to me, John, I have not gotten any perceptions in the past, I'm going to tell you why you haven't gotten them. It's because you've been too much in this box. I have a little box I'm holding up here. You're too much staying in a box. You need to get out of the box. You need to realize that the way you're expecting something to be delivered to you may not come in this nice little neat package. It may not come on the day you want or the time you want or even the place you want. But we need to be open to it. That's important, guys. And that's the reason why a lot of people miss their miracle. They're waiting for something that's not going to show up. And they refuse to go anywhere else because they say that's where miracles got to happen. Number 26, guys. Direction becomes clearer. Confusion reduces as awareness increases. Confusion reduces as awareness increases. Confusion reduces as awareness increases. So as we become more grounded, more in tune to the environment that we are in, our awareness goes up. And each time we do it, more and more and more. And I think that's a big thing for a lot of us to understand is that just taking the time to become aware of something can greatly change your life. Number 27, guys, listening changes the outcome. Did you know that? Listening will change the outcome. Now, you might think that listening is going to be everything you want. But listening is kind of like the keys to the kingdom. When you listen and you understand without judgment, you have a different perspective, a different perception. Attention directly influences the results because when we pay attention to the way something really is, instead of what we want it to be, now we could show up in the way that we should be because the way we were showing up before might not be in alignment with what even the person is expecting. Number 28, guys. Guidance shapes decisions. Insight informs the better choices. So our guidance shapes the decisions, and insight informs better choices. But we don't become sharp as a knife, okay? Overnight. We need to be slowly grinded. I don't mean grind the way of wore down. I mean the sense that we need to slowly be exposed to our environment. The more that a knife is exposed to the sharpening block, the sharper it gets. But it doesn't happen over time. It doesn't happen in seconds. It takes a little time for the knife to get into that. You too need to develop not only where you're going, but also the energy that's going to allow you to show up. And show up in a way that'll be the greater good for you and for all mankind. Number 29, guys, trust improves clarity. Trust improves clarity. People that don't want to build trust are ambiguous. Maybe not intentional, but when they have that ambiguity in them, how do we even start to put any kind of respect or any kind of, let's say, accountability on a person? Resistance, my friends, reduces understanding and flow. Okay? When we resist, things persist and we cannot flow. If you have a dam and you block the dam, the water does not go down the dam. Sorry, it doesn't. Number 30, guys, direction becomes destiny. Sustained awareness defines long-term outcome. You know, guys, what most people fail to realize is that direction is not something forced into existence. It is something revealed over time when internal noise decreases and external influence no longer dominates the perception. In other words, when you choose to disassociate with it. Okay. Once awareness reaches a certain point or level, clarity begins organizing itself naturally. And what once felt uncertain becomes obvious. See, the transition point is this. At the transition point, life stops being reactive and becoming observational, more proactive. Instead of forcing outcomes, you begin recognizing patterns. Instead of chasing direction, you begin noticing an alignment. Instead of struggling with confusion, you begin seeing that there's a structure. See, this, ladies and gentlemen, is the moment where transformation stops being theoretical and becomes practical. The shift. When you finally listen clearly, what you need to do becomes obvious. Not because the world changed, but because you changed and how you interpret it. That shift is what unlocks direction. Ladies and gentlemen, I know a lot of this can be confusing, but this episode is about awareness, becoming more structured, developing that structure, becoming your true identity, and identity becoming your long-term direction. Once truth is seen clearly, it cannot be unseen. And once it cannot be unseen, life can no longer remain accidental. It becomes intentional, aligned, and directed. This is the foundation of Inspirations for Your Life. Not motivation only, hype, not the but clarity that changes how you see everything and how everything responds back to you. That's the key. It's that subtle awareness. I'm John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur. Be sure to check out believemeachieve.com for more of my amazing, inspiring creations. Be well, everyone.